Alright, welcome back. So as I left off, because you really didn't want to see me gap or fit 8 rings in each cylinder, I did that off camera. But I'm back, I'm done. I ended up going with 0.25. So to make this quick process a little quicker, tight cylinder, loose cylinder, stuck the power rings up here in the lifter valley, took one ring out, slid it in there, square it, measure, okay, set it up, pull it out, set it over here, take the next one off the pile, stick it in there, and did this cylinder until I got to basically 0.025. That was the target I was going with. So I found one that got me to 0.025. It's a little on the tight side, but a 2.025 will fit in here. And then I started the process over, did this cylinder, ring, measure, set it over, ring, measure, set it over, until I got to the one that gave me the closest to 0.025. This one's loose at a 0.028. None of them would get me anything tighter. Majority of them were 0.029, and I had one or two that were 0.030, which is the same as the top. And I wanted a little bit tighter on the bottom. So this one is my one odd duck. This is going to be a 30 on the top, 28 on the bottom, and then the rest of them, at that point, was whatever the remaining rings, stick one in there, measure, 25, move on. This one is the only other cylinder where I had to go through a lot of rings, so I got one that was 25. I'm not sure why. And then these are all 25. Some might be a little tight. It might be a tight 25. Some might be a little bit looser. They all had drag on them. 25 would go in there. Some would require a little more effort to slide the feeler gauge through. And some of them would be almost like a knife through butter, or warm knife through butter. Less drag. There's drag, but less drag. So there are 25, just kind of, some might be tighter than others, but they're around a 25. So that gets me all my ring packs done. 30 on top, 25 on the bottom, except for my one odd duck. And now it comes down to installing them. I can honestly say I don't think I've ever seen anybody install them from the bottom up. You might be able to do that. I have never done that. I've always done from the top, and then oil control ring first, or the oil control ring pack first, then your second ring, and then your third ring, or your top ring in this case, last. If you notice, oil control rings are in the box. Don't really gap those. Second ring, top ring, they're in order per cylinder. This is cylinder 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4 over here. Pistons 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All I gotta do is pull the piston out, go to that cylinder, grab that ring pack, install that ring pack, and done. Stick it in the box and move on to the next. I'll show you a quick way to do it. If you're not careful, you can actually break your rings. Let me go grab an old ring. Actually, you'll just come with me. So I'm kind of saving the old pistons over here. Don't just throw these away, guys. You'll be surprised. Take them to the recycler. You know, especially those of you in states where you have a high aluminum rate, like, you know, California, probably $1 something a pound. These pistons sometimes, not always, sometimes are made of an alloy, and they'll actually pay pretty good money for a set of 6 pistons. Or a set of pistons. I took a set of 6 from, I don't remember, some 6-cylinder obviously. But it was a set of 6 pistons in the recycle with a bunch of other scrap metal, and they're like, nope, you want to go take that to the office. Took it to the office. They did some check on them. They weighed them. Surprisingly, with the wrist pins in. I didn't say anything. Kept my mouth shut. And paid me, for a set of 6 pistons, paid me like $80. I'm like, alright. And just some sort of alloy. So, here's a gross, crusty piston ring. You notice I actually got it off without using the pliers. I recommend using piston ring pliers. Put the ends in the end of the piston rings. As I give a close-up shot of my hand, and you squeeze and you slide this down. They don't recommend spiral twisting these on, and the reason why the manufacturer, okay, let me back up a little bit. I don't recommend spiral twisting these on, just like the piston manufacturer or the ring manufacturers don't, because if you'll see, it doesn't take very much to snap them. Doesn't take much. Plus, it probably puts a weird, and it does put a weird twist in it because it's on the floor, kind of like the chair at the table at the restaurant, teeter-totters. One leg is a little shorter than the other. That's what the ring's doing down here on the floor. So, can you put them on and take them off by spiraling them on? Yeah, kind of saw me just do that with a used one. Do I recommend it? On a used one that you don't care about, sure, go for it. On a new one, kind of sucks to break one ring in a package of piston rings. Some of these companies will actually sell you one ring pack, so you can order one package of rings for one piston, but most don't, so you're going to be stuck ordering another set of piston rings for one cylinder. So, like I said, highly recommend. These are cheap. These are, actually, I'd say these are O'Reilly's, but these were purchased back before it was still O'Reilly's. I'm going to go old school here. This is from the Shucks days, back when it was Checker Shucks Cragen. So, I'm going to try to set you up on a tripod here. Angled down, and where I can use both hands, because if this falls off the workbench and I drop it, I'm not going to be a happy camper. It doesn't take much to break the piston skirts. So I'll set you up on a camera, or set the camera up on a tripod, and I'll show you rings, oil rings, second ring, top ring, maybe do 1 or 2 on camera, and call it good, because watching me do this 8 times, probably not very exciting. So I'm going to pause you again and set up the camera, and then be right back. Alright, not at the greatest angle, but it's going to be fairly well. Looks like you can see, looking at the monitor, you can see what I'm doing. Oil rings. We'll start with the bottom first. These are, well, there's two of them. Really light spring tension. So these actually do get kind of spiraled on. They don't open really well. They're non-directional. There's no dots on them. There's no bevels or anything. You just throw them on. So when they say not to spiral them on, it's basically put them in the groove, rotate them around. Now it's kind of stuck in that groove. Watch me fumble. Pull it out. We'll move it down to the bottom groove, and you just kind of work your way around, spiraling it across, and there you go. I usually try to put the gap at the wrist pin, and you're going to want to stagger these gaps, but during assembly or installation, I just throw them all right on a wrist pin so I can find them, and then I could just spin them when I'm done. So there's your first scraper ring, is basically what that is. Then it's your spring ring. Can't remember what the terminology is for it, but it does probably have a name. It's got a function. Alright, so what am I doing wrong? Alright, well, this one's a little bit different. We're just going to spiral this down to the bottom. Since looks like this actually gets to go on first. So there's that. You want the ends of this to butt together. If they don't butt together, it's not correct. And there you go. So there's my gap. There's my butted ends, if you can see, hopefully. Take another one for the top. These like to stick together, so make sure you only got one. I'm going to play it a little safe, spiral it down. There. Okay. So the directions from Molly says these rail gaps, these are what they're calling oil rails, are supposed to be either side by 1 inch of the gap in the expander gap. And this is the expander, so we'll keep an eye of where my gap is right there. So there's my gap, expander gap. That's a call that here to here. Might be a little more than an inch. We'll move this one over here. There you go. And then this should be able to rotate freely. If it doesn't rotate, you did something wrong and you get to start all over. And you watched me start all over because, well, I did something wrong. Alright, so this happens to be cylinder number 5, which is, hey, luckily for me, the one closest right behind me. So, reach back, grab the second ring for the second groove, orientation dot right here on top, stick them in your ring expanders, dot up, expand over the top. Whoops, didn't go down far enough, so back in the pliers. Down you go. I'll put that gap over here. And you can see, pretty loose. But once you put it in the cylinder with there's a actual compression tool that you use to compress everything, and then you drive it into the cylinder or into the engine block. You'll get to see that in another episode down the road. So one ring done. Reach behind you. Grab the next one, look for the orientation dot right there. Excuse me. There you go. And then I take a quick look. So there is my expansion gap and the third ring. I do the gap for the second ring 90 degrees from that. Some people say 80, 180. And then I usually do 180 from the top, the gap in the top, 180 from the gap in the bottom. So 180, 180, 90. And there you go. There's one cylinder done. They're going to flop around. When you go to install them, double check your gaps before you drop them in, because like I said, they rotate really easy. Basically, I have one gap over here on this side of the piston with the dot, and then the other gap is on the other side with the piston on the dot, 180 degrees from each other. Except they, like I said, they rotate. Cylinder number 6. Learned from my first mistake. We're all learning here, even me sometimes. Like I said, I'm no expert. I'm just some hack in a garage. Oil expansion ring. There you go. Remember where that gap is. Control ring. Get it spiraled on. When you get down to the end here, leapfrog to the next groove, spiral down. I'll get to the end here, leapfrog to the bottom groove, Spiral down, spiral down. These you can actually spiral. There you go. And then if we wanted to, we could go ahead and position that now. So there's my gap. Here's where the the expansion ring gap is. That's about an inch. We'll call it good. Next ring, make sure there's only one. Spiral it on the top, so put the end in the first groove. Bring it around, okay, stick it in there. You're going to be fishing it out. You guys kind of watch me bobble the first one. Just bring it around. Leapfrog down. So you're going to go clockwise on some of them, counterclockwise on some of them, depending on which direction you go when you start. There you go. Here's my W shape, which tells me that's where the butts are, and I need this one to move. Get my inch. We'll call that an inch. Rotate. Number 6 happens to be right behind me. Not that you can see it because you're off camera. Number 6, second ring. Once again, watch the dot. Pliers. Snap it in. We'll go ahead and put that one right there. All the PB blaster and fogging oils leaking all over the top of my toolbox. Top ring. Locate the directional dot. We'll go ahead and rotate it around so the gap will be close to where I need it to be. So gap there, gap there. So I got my top ring and second ring 180 apart, and then I'm 90 degrees from the next one. And we're gonna end that right there because I don't think you want to watch me do 6 more of these. They're not that exciting. But that is how you get rings on a piston, how I got end gap, and end it here. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, and I'll